Welcome to this new episode of the FinCrime Agent Podcast. As you can see, we have a familiar face today on the show. It's Louie Vargas. And for those who haven't met Louie before, Louie is a financial crime specialist and more specifically works in the sanctions domain. So welcome, Louie. How are you today?
Doing well. Thanks, Marco.
As you can see, guys, we have two logos in the background. This is the NFCP and the FinCrime Agent logo. NFCP is the Network for Financial Crime Prevention and is a new initiative that Louis started. And we had this idea to cooperate together and come up with some content that can be useful for people in our industry. So this is a new initiative that we have where we're going to do some more updates about different domains in financial crime prevention and share them with you through my YouTube channel and through some podcast content as well. I just want to pass the word to Louis. Today we're gonna, before I do that, we are going to talk about the evolution of AI in financial crime prevention. But before we go into the core of the discussion, I just want to let Louis introduce a bit more the NFCP initiative and what this is all about.
Thanks, Marco. And that's really awesome to be with you here today. And it's really, I feel like, inspiring to see our two logos sharing the screen, and very happy that we're sharing also the screen together. So yeah, NFCP started only a few months ago in November, but we're growing quite quickly, I should say. And we're currently focused right now on the Nordics, but we're not exclusive. If you look at our stats right now, Copenhagen is number one with connected people via LinkedIn, and number two is London. So that shows that we are global, even though we're trying to kind of, take it step by step. We're still growing at a global scale. And, to kind of keep it short, at heart of what we're trying to do is just create a community for people within the FinCrime space and also the risk and compliance space to learn and grow together. So if you want to learn more, feel free to reach out. Check out our website at www.nfcp.info. And also we're on LinkedIn. So please feel free to connect with us, become a member to learn more, and we'll be happy to collaborate and learn together. And as Marco mentioned, this is a new initiative for the both of us. We're going to try to do this in a regular cadence. We'll see how that goes. But also, you might have saw the post on LinkedIn I did the other day where I was calling for SMEs to see if they'll be interested in also working with us. And this is part of the vision we have, is not just seeing our beautiful faces, especially Marco's, and hearing his great accent, but is also to promote the great SMEs we have in our community and in our network. So more to come on that. Also reach out to both of us if you're interested. But yeah, let's get into the content that we prepared today.
100%. So let us know if you want to contribute. We are currently seeking for more subject matter experts across the financial crime domain to help us in sharing these updates on a regular basis. So get in touch if you want to be part of this new project. So today, evolution of AI in financial crime. This is something, of course, we need to treat because AI is revolutionizing how we are combating financial crime. And I think maybe, Louis, if that's okay, I will start with a point which I want to bring up, which is becoming now a critical asset, the use of AI for the new identification of risk, in my experience. So we've been seeing before some technology taking place, but with AI, we can now see in the sanction space as well, in AML and fraud, the ability to identify new unknown risk. And this is, I think, is quite relevant, especially in ML transaction monitoring, where we are also transitioning quite gradually still from a batch type of process into a more real-time way to check for ML transaction monitoring activities. It's not something that is happening very suddenly. There has been lots of talk in the market about real-time AML, but it's kind of happening now. And with the use of AI, definitely we're going to be in a much stronger position to identify those money laundering risk in the transaction monitoring space. And also, what I want to say on this is also in the fraud space. Definitely, fraud has been always real time, and with the ability to profile people and identify those anomalies at the transactional level using the sophisticated tools and skills that are provided to us from AI, I think is going to be a game changer and something that will help us to keep pace on what criminals are doing on the other side by exploiting this technology. What do you think, Louie?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of what you mentioned, I would echo those sentiments as well. But I think I want to challenge that a bit and say that I think that, especially regarding FinCrime prevention, I think AI is becoming more of a distraction than an actual key asset at this moment. And why I say that, and it might vary per jurisdiction, but what I've been hearing a lot is, AI is either the saving grace or it's going to be the cause of a lot of people losing their jobs. And I think the reality of it is somewhere in the middle. So, we can't sensationalize what AI has and what it could do, though all your points are well taken. But I think, from a financial industry perspective, we all know that these companies they don't want to be first adopters. So what does that mean? As this technology is changing and growing and we find all these key ways to utilize it to stay ahead of the criminals, by the time we could actually harness it and use it for that purpose, it could be, those typologies that we're capturing now will change and we'll still be behind the eight ball. So, I feel that it's a bit risky at the moment. But on the other hand, the EU has released the AI Act, which I think is very key for the industry because it's now defining things in a way that now we could talk the same language when we're talking about AI and what AI does and the risks that are involved. So I think we're getting there in small steps. But I still think it's, a bit tricky grounds, and let's see how it goes.
Well, we are definitely in a transition. So I understand the point that you're bringing up. The element of moving slower than how fast criminals can move is always something that is not card in our favor. Of course, in the regulated sector, we've got all the regulations to follow and policies and procedures, which takes time to adapt and change, especially for larger institutions, but is a direction that we are taking, right? So it's a direction that we should take, and the concern for the job loss and the reduction of workforce is something that we will have to deal with eventually as well. I'm not denying that aspect, but where we are now, I still support a lot the cooperation between technology and people that together can be extremely powerful tool, I think, personally.
No doubt about that. Just one more point on that. I'm not debating that at all. I think it's more so just for me to put it in perspective a bit. I mentioned those things. But maybe a good way forward for, different companies or the financial industry to look at it is one, actually doing the work, which will take more time, right? Because we need to learn how to actually have the right oversight over AI, the data sets you want to share with it. The list is endless, right? So one part is that. But then the part I think that you're highlighting is, being able to spot anomalies, being able to learn from the data we have. I think that there shouldn't be many red flags to start adopting that portion now, because we could use the AI to learn of things that are happening and be a bit more proactive. So maybe we just have to, maybe it'd be easier for companies to switch the perspective and maybe put it into two buckets, where one is to enhance your ability to do things and be a bit proactive, and one is actually to help do the work. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that could be a way for sure. Absolutely. And based on what you were saying, this, I think, it connected in my brain with the second point as well, which is the ethical concern. So this is another thing that probably is leading us to the second point of the topics we wanted to cover today. So the data that is being analyzed by AI can be misused. So the importance of maintaining this in a safe environment. And again, AI is still to support and not replace the human decision making. It's important a strong alignment with the GDPR regulations. So whenever there is data that is used to train a specific model, we must make sure that we are still aligned with what is required by GDPR. But on the ethical side, there is this element which I think is fundamental, that in financial crime prevention, we are dealing with decisions that affect people's life and their financial future. So this is the more central part for me that makes it extremely important that you still maintain the person as the human to be part of the decision, because we don't know yet, right, how AI is going to treat us without having the empathy or analyzing the situation. These are just some of the things I wanted to say on the ethical concern. So the importance of making sure that the data that is provided is not misused, the element for having people being part of the decision because of the consequences in our field, and of course the alignment with existing regulations such as GDPR.
Yeah, again, I mean, I agree with you 100%. The only thing I guess I would add to that is, shine a light on, is the governance that you mentioned, the appropriate governance and oversight of what the AI system is doing for you is super key. And also, being on top of the biases that might incorrectly appear, something maybe you're not directly programming, but based on the data you're presenting to the AI tool, it might cause an issue. And, on top of that, if you look at the EU AI Act, they talk about, what certain systems that do like social profiling and other, taking biometric data and using that against the public is wrong, right? And that's forbidden. And so, yes, I mean, it's clear that there's ethical ways to use the data we have. There are unethical ways. So we have to make sure that any decision we make around building out an AI system is clearly documented and that oversight is there, so that if any things change, we could make sure that we adjust with it as well. And the last point I'll make on that is the whole part around, again, just allowing technology to do stuff on our behalf. We have to move away from that mindset. We have to maintain proper oversight, because when a regulator comes in and asks you about your AI system, you might have all the documentation in the world, but they want you to describe it with your own words. They want you to be able to define the things that it's doing in your own words, and not just be shoved a paper or asked to talk to the developers. They want you as a compliance officer to fully understand what it's doing and how it's doing it. It can't do it by itself. And we got to remember, computers, even though they're getting smarter, we go back to the fundamentals. They operate on zeros and ones, right? On and off. Yes and no. So to just end on Marco's point, we need the human aspect to understand the gray area, because the systems can't do that on their own.
Amazing. Absolutely. Transparency, I still think, is a major, the keyword in AI and how we are using AI, because eventually someone is going to knock at the door and is an auditor that is going to tell you, okay, explain me why that decision 3 years ago was taken. And you need to be in a strong position to defend that, because AI is not going to talk with them on your behalf. for now, but
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
yeah. So this is definitely key. And let's move on to the next topic. I think we've got down another couple of points here. The next one is fraud and deepfake. I was just yesterday on a call with our colleague Charmaine, and they were talking about the utilization of AI and so on. And someone was actually asking, but are criminals already using this? And God, yes, they are absolutely with synthetic identities. This would be, for example, one of the main use, right? They can use this to circumvent the KYC verification. So the deep fake in here is something that is being used quite a lot by them to create very realistic identification, even videos related to the person that they try to impersonate. And you can imagine all the problems that this can create. You can have another Marco or Louie that are opening a bank account. Maybe the bank thinks, okay, this guy seems pretty good, but it's actually not me at all. And there you go. You get access into the financial services sector and the broad network to do all sorts of things. So this is a major concern at the moment. And this works not just in video, picture, but also with voice. So there are many voice recognition systems that, thank God, now they start to be in place to identify when someone is using deepfake at the audio level. Do you wanna maybe say a couple of words on this space as well, Louis?
Yeah, for sure. The fraud prevention is, I feel, now becoming a worldwide phenomenon, right? Because at first, fraud was just seen in certain sectors, or maybe more important in certain parts of the world. But especially with the advent of technology, it's a worldwide issue. So, I'm glad now it's finally getting the respect it deserves in the FinCrime community. Hopefully it could be folded into the rest of the FinCrime program, because now you see a lot of financial institutions as having fraud on its own. But I really think that it should be kind of at the table with AML, sanctions, and tax, the rest of them. So yeah, especially now, like you said, with deepfakes, this is just adding a new layer to the fraud toolbox that they have at their disposal. And again, we're playing catch up. As you said, the good guys are always kind of, learning from when the fraudsters or the criminals have already taken this action. So, the progression as far as prevention is there now. It's trying to catch up. But yeah, it's still where, we still have a long way to go, especially for our compliance officers in the field to really be able to understand and identify these risks. And for banks to also deploy the necessary technology to counteract and figure out that these things are fake or erroneous. So I think it's an exciting time if you're in the fraud space right now. You might have felt like the ignored stepchild for a long time, but now I think this is the time to shine, because, like I said, it's such a worldwide issue for many of the reasons also that you've already specified. And yeah, let's just see. Hopefully, the prevention angle grows, and we could get better at preventing a lot of these issues where people are falling victim to these crimes. And you mentioned the issues when it comes to opening a bank account, but there's so many different use types where we're seeing technology being involved with fraud activity. So I think a lot of it is education as well, not just for us in the field, but also the public at large. We have to get better at ensuring that they understand what to look for, what the red flags are, to even try to stop preventing the fraud from happening. So yeah, and I think as a community, we owe that to the public at large too, right? We're here to protect society. And a lot of times we get stuck at just concentrating on ourselves, which is great. I'm not saying that it's not great. We need to do that and get better at it. And that's why NFCP exists. But I think we also sometimes have to think of the next level, right? The victims and how to educate them.
Yeah, 100%. I've been trying sometimes to create videos that were not just for the people in our industry on my channel. Unfortunately, the YouTube algorithm doesn't like my videos too much if I don't make them for professionals. It seems like to keep them really down. But so if you're watching this, for example, and you want to share with someone who doesn't work in financial crime compliance and prevention, go ahead. They will hate you probably because you send them stuff.
We need to add some more hashtags.
Yeah, but we will try. We will try to share the word out there. And next, we've got sanctions and AML. In this space, I'm just gonna say something on the experience I've seen very briefly here, which is in the AML space, the way that we can now create more to identify more risks with unknown unknowns using the AI models. Sorry. And this has been like something very new, and it works. I can see that it works because it's not anymore just rules based, but it can work together, of course, with rules based. And that's my experience also for mitigation of the noise in the AML space, where I've seen huge results and I'm very proud of is in the sanction space, where the accuracy on the screening is now being significantly impacted by the AI. So we've got the ability to actually tag different part of the payments and get AI to review if this is an actual false positive or not, with proper explanation and rationale for the investigator to be as efficient as possible in this space. I personally worked in sanction screening myself in my career, and it can be a super tough job, going through huge loads of false positives. So I'm very pleased on the changes that we've seen in both AI and sanctions, but the sanctions one is the one that touched me more because I felt it on my own skin in the past.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the way, certain vendors are helping in that regard, as far as, alleviating some of the stress and operational impact to false positive is great. But I think it's also, again, what I mentioned earlier on, the slow adoption. I think we need to get better at accepting these technologies as an assistant and then being able to action appropriately. Of course, not letting it be actioned by itself. There's also a small part of AI that I've seen used already in the US and potentially the UK, which is machine learning or decision reapplication. That hasn't made its way to other parts of the world. So I think that, since it's already been tested in the US and the UK, the other parts of the world that hasn't taken advantage of this part of this, again, small part of AI, can see a lot of benefit from it. And it won't be first adopters. Again, we see the US using it already and probably the UK as well. But other jurisdictions need to kind of move forward and start adopting that, because that would also lessen the operational burden. And going back to kind of ways that it helps, right? AML, you have certain vendors that are introducing AI assistants that are helping on the AML front to create SARs or pre-SAR reporting, so that the analysts could not waste their time on pulling the data in. Obviously you could program the system with the template that you would prefer for your bank. Obviously there's different approaches. So you program it with the template, it pulls all the data in, then your analyst could just back check it and let it go. So I think there's a lot of ways that AI is helping in this field. But again, I think it's still in certain jurisdictions a bit ways away than you might have hoped. But yeah, like you said, the technology is there. It's getting better and more refined every day. And let's hope it continues on that trajectory. And the last point I'll mention here is where I could see AI being more of a help, and especially talking about sanctions, which is close to my heart, is if you would allow AI to help you with reviewing or predicting emerging sanctions risks. And what I mean by that is, having it look at media, to look at shifting geopolitical dynamics that's impacting the world and how that might have a kind of a nexus to sanctions compliance, so that you could then prioritize how you want to address that going forward. So you could have a bit more of a proactive approach to sanctions, potential risks.
Absolutely. I mean, there could be many more things we can cover, but just to give it not too long, this video, of course, we just
an old egg.
We can go on for a long time here, guys. So we can go through a generation of suspicious activity aboard with generative AI. We can talk about my FinCrime Agent GPT for a long time.
That's right.
I can do that. But no, we're not gonna do that, and we're just gonna move to the last point, which is emerging risks. So emerging risks in here, I think crypto space and the utilization of decentralized finance is something new. We've seen with the new administration after the US election that crypto is going to become very central. So those that are thinking, okay, it's a temporary technology or trend or whatever that is going away, is not going away. It's not going away. There will be more regulations, hopefully, that will help us to make this space safer. But this is definitely an emerging risk that we need to be aware of across the entire financial crime space, because, there is the traceability in the blockchain technology that I think we should use in our favor as much as possible. But there is also the other unknown part that can create gray areas, and people can utilize this technology, just to make it short, to make more and more crimes in the financial services space. So maybe AI can help us in here as well. But I personally didn't have enough experience in seeing what we are doing in the AI space in connection with the cryptocurrency. So maybe something that personally I will dig into for another session. And let me know, Louie, if you've got something to include on this point as well.
Yeah, I think as far as emerging risk, I totally agree with you on this cryptocurrency space and the landscape. Hopefully there's more oversight and more help that comes to the financial industry and other industries that need to kind of understand the risk and have the ability to actually see the flow of the transactions and see the blockchain information. Because right now I feel like a lot of that is only a few companies have that access. The only thing I would add as an emerging risk, and it's an old risk that, we kind of already touched base on, is fraud. As we said, technology is shifting the typologies, it's increasing the toolbox for the criminals. So I think that's going to continue to grow in the next year. So that's kind of how I see it. And then, if we look at the near term, crypto and fraud.
Brilliant. Thank you, Louie, for adding that. And I think we got to the end of the session today. So I think we just left to say thank you to everyone for listening to us, and hopefully it's been an interesting discussion for you. If you haven't subscribed to the FinCrime Agent channel, remember this is the channel where you can get lots of resources for staying up to date with the industry, but also to learn about different domains. Now we've got the great collaboration with NFCP, so hopefully there will be more interesting material for you coming up on the channel. And that's all. Thank you, Louie, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you, and remember to follow FinCrime Agent, as Marco said. He's been doing stuff for the public for a long time, so let's keep that going. Like you said, NFCP is around to help this community, hopefully also society at large. And I'll leave it at, if you have any topics that you would like us to consider for future videos or content, please let us know, because again, all this is for you guys. So thank you again, and looking forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you, Marco. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.